The colony of Zalos floated in peace near the edge of the known galaxy. Its skies were blue, its trees were tall, and its people had lived without war for centuries. They were known as builders, not fighters. Their cities were full of art, music, and soft laughter. They believed the galaxy had moved past violence, but they were wrong. On a calm morning, a dark shape entered their orbit. Then another, and another. Ships sharp, black, and silent appeared without warning. They did not send a greeting. They did not ask for surrender. Instead, they opened fire. The skies burned. The towers fell. The people screamed as plasma tore through the streets. The enemy was not there to conquer. They were there to erase. They moved like shadows, quick and cruel, showing no mercy. Inside the High Council building, Elder Van Eck pressed the emergency button with a shaking hand. A signal had to be sent anywhere. To anyone. They didn't know who would answer, but they had no other hope. Send the Universal OS, Van Eck said, voice full of fear. To all species. Someone must hear us. Should we check the network? Asked a younger assistant. No time. Van Eck replied, send it now. The signal burst out like a cry in the dark, flying through space. It carried their voice, their pain, their need. It was not meant for a specific species. It was meant for anyone kind enough to help. But it landed on a world no one expected. Earth. Hundreds of light years away, in a cold bunker deep under the mountains, a computer blinked. A red light flashed. A message was received. Commander Dale, a tall man with gray in his beard, stood over the console. His eyes read the translated words, help us, we are being destroyed. This is Zalos colony. We beg any race, please respond. Behind him, Captain Marie frowned. This isn't our sector. She said, it's not even council-controlled space. Doesn't matter, Dale said. They're being wiped out. Shouldn't we wait for orders? You know the rules, Captain. We're Deathworlders. We don't ignore cries for help. Within hours, the fleet moved. 10 warships, old but powerful, rose from Earth's hangars. Their metal hulls were thick. Their weapons were silent but deadly. Each ship was guided by humans born and trained on a world where everything was dangerous. They didn't need fancy tech. They had experience, creativity, and the will to survive. As they jumped through space, the crew prepared for war. Meanwhile, on Zalos, hope faded. Half the cities were gone. The enemy showed no signs of stopping. The alien leaders gathered in an underground shelter. Many had burns. Some had lost family. Did anyone hear us? Asked Elder Van Eck, voice cracking. We don't know, someone replied. No response yet. Then, suddenly, the ground shook. A deep roar filled the air. It wasn't from the enemy. Outside, in the broken sky, strange shapes appeared. Large ships, dark gray and glowing from their engines, came from hyperspace. They looked like beasts made of metal. Panic spread again. Is it another enemy fleet? A young guard asked. I don't know, said Van Eck. But they're not the same. Look, the first ship hovered above the ruins, silent. Then a message came through the colony's comms. This is Commander Dale of the United Deathworld Fleet. The voice said, we received your signal. Step back. We're taking over. The aliens stared at the screen, confused. They responded. Someone whispered, Deathworlders. Another asked, aren't they too dangerous? The answer came fast. From the human ships, smaller crafts dropped to the ground. Soldiers in dark armor landed in squads. They didn't wait. They moved fast, setting up defenses, scanning the area, and targeting the enemy. On a hill, Commander Dale stepped out and looked at the burning colony. We've seen worse, he said calmly. Get to work. The aliens watched in silence as the humans fought back the enemy with a level of skill they had never seen. Traps were placed. Snipers took position. Medics helped the wounded, both human and alien. And for the first time in days, the raiders started losing ground. Deep underground, Elder Van Eck sat back in his chair. We sent a message to the stars, he whispered, and the monsters answered. They're not monsters, said a younger alien beside him. They're here to help. Van Eck nodded slowly. Maybe, he said, but they don't look like heroes. They look like something even worse. He looked back at the screen. Human was dragging a wounded alien to safety, covering them with his own shield. But maybe, Vanek added, we called the right monsters after all. The sky of Zalos had turned gray from smoke. Burning trees, broken towers, and deep craters covered the once beautiful land. The people, scared and hiding, watched strange armored humans move through the ruins like they had done it 100 times before. Alien Commander Seller, one of the few military leaders left, peeked from a hidden building. He held a small comm device and whispered to Elder Vanek, "They're humans from the Death World." "Yes," Vanek answered quietly. "I read about them once. Their world is wild. Everything on it tries to kill them. And yet," Sellers said, "they live." Outside, human squads move with skill and speed. They were simple gear, but they acted like they knew every danger. Some cleared buildings, some treated the wounded. Others worked on scanning the enemy's movement. One tall human female stood on a damaged bridge. She was calm, watching the sky with a strange device. Captain Marie, a soldier, called. "We found raiders retreating to the northern hill. Looks like they're regrouping." "Good," Marie said. "They should run. Let them feel hunted for once." She pressed her comm and called the flagship above. "Commander Dale, we've taken sectors 5 through 7. Minimal resistance now." Dale's voice replied. "Steady and clear. Copy that. Captain, scan the hills and prepare for Phase 2. From their underground shelter, the Zalos Council watched the footage with disbelief. They saw humans acting without fear, without delay. They didn't ask for orders. They didn't wait for thanks. They simply moved, fought, and protected. Are they doing this for free? One council member asked. "What do they want in return?" Another whispered. Vanek shook his head. "I don't think they're here for payment. I think they're here because we asked." Seller frowned. "No species does that, not without a reason." Meanwhile, in a ruined town square, a young alien child cried near the remains of a food stall. He had been separated from his parents during the first attack. Nearby, a human soldier heard him. The man approached slowly, lowering his weapon. "Hey, little one," the soldier said gently. "You lost." The child nodded, eyes wide and wet. The soldier smiled and took off his helmet. "Don't worry, we'll find your parents." He picked up the child and handed him a soft ration bar. "Here?" "Not the best, but it helps." The child took it with shaking hands, watching from a distance. Elder Vanek saw this moment on the screen. He pointed and said, "They fight like monsters, but they care like family." Outside the main bunker, human engineers had started rebuilding power lines. They didn't wait for permission. They needed light, sensors, and shields. They fixed what they could with what they had. Captain Marie walked into the alien bunker without asking. The guards flinched. The Zalos Council stood in silence. Marie nodded once. "We've stabilized the front. We'll hold the line. But you need to tell us everything you know about these raiders." Elder Vanek stood up. "We don't know much. They attacked without warning. No name, no message, just destruction." Marie frowned. "That's unusual. Even pirates send demands. This feels planned." Commander Seller stepped forward. "I agree. They move too well. Their attacks are focused. They didn't come to steal. They came to destroy." Marie looked at her wrist screen. "We've seen this before. Not often. But there's a pattern. This may be part of something larger." Elder Vanek looked worried. "And what happens when your fleet leaves? Will they return?" Marie met his eyes. "We don't leave until the threat is gone." The council remained silent. It was strange. These humans didn't smile much. They didn't talk about peace or politics. But their actions were louder than any words. Later that day, as the sun set through a dusty sky, humans and aliens stood side by side, building barriers and helping the injured. Some aliens still looked afraid. Others began to nod in quiet respect. A young alien named Elrin walked up to a human soldier and offered him a small water jug. "You look tired," Elrin said. "Thank you for saving my sister." The human smiled. "She's part of your family. That makes her worth saving." Elrin blinked. "You don't even know us." "We don't have to," the soldier replied. "Your pain was loud enough. In the command center, Commander Dale studied enemy movement on the map. His eyes narrowed. "They're testing the colony's strength," he said, "probing defenses. This wasn't random. Someone sent them here to see how fast Xalos would fall." "Then we messed up their plan," Maurice said. "Good," Dale answered. "Let's keep doing that." He tapped the screen and marked the enemy's last stronghold. "Get the fleet ready," he said. "We end this before they regroup." Outside, the stars began to shine again through the clearing smoke. The people of Xalos looked up with new hope. Strange ships hovered above, filled with warriors from the most dangerous world known to the galaxy. But tonight, those warriors were their shield. The night on Xalos was quiet, but it wasn't peaceful. The sound of machines hummed in the background. Human engineers were busy setting up turrets, scanners, and shields. Their work was fast, precise, and silent. The Xalos citizens watched from a distance, still unsure whether to feel fear or gratitude. Commander Dale stood on a small hill overlooking the map. The holographic display showed the last known enemy positions. Several red dots blinked in the northern region, a place with cliffs, thick forests, and deep caves. "They've built a base up there," Dale said to Captain Murray. "Hidden, strong, and full of weapons. They think we'll wait and play defense, but we're not going to wait," Maurice said with a small smile. "No," Dale replied. "We hit them first, deep inside the Alien Council bunker." Elder Van Eck was called for a strategy meeting. He arrived with Commander Seller, both surprised to see a large table filled with humans. "Already planning? You're preparing an attack?" Van Eck asked. "We are," Marie answered. "You said they came to destroy. That means they won't stop unless we stop them." Van Eck looked unsure. "But your numbers are small." "They have more ships, more soldiers." "Maybe," Dale said. "But we're Deathworlders. We've fought worse with less." Seller nodded slowly. "Then let us help. We know the terrain. We can guide your forces." "Good," Maurice said. "We welcome your help. Just stay close and follow orders. It'll get messy out there." Hours later, as the second sun began to rise, human dropships lifted into the sky. They moved quickly, flying low to avoid radar. Inside, soldiers checked their gear, tightened straps, and loaded weapons. They didn't talk much. They were used to danger. One young soldier, named Lewis, looked out the window and saw the alien forest below. "Never thought I'd be saving another species," he said. His partner, Clark, replied, "You never know where a cry for help might take you." On the ground, the first wave landed near the forest edge. Humans spread out, using trees and rocks for cover. Xalos scouts led them along narrow paths that only locals knew. The enemy didn't expect a full strike this early. Within minutes, the first human squad reached an enemy outpost. The guards were caught off guard. Without speaking, the humans launched smoke bombs, used sound jammers, and moved like shadows. The enemy couldn't see them until it was too late. Alien raiders tried to regroup, but human soldiers pushed hard. Grenades rolled under enemy platforms. Drones flew overhead, dropping signals that confused enemy sensors. It wasn't just strength, it was smart fighting. From a nearby hill, Commander Seller and a group of Xalos warriors watched in amazement. "They're not just soldiers," Seller whispered. "They're hunters." Elder Van Eck, watching through a live feed, saw something that stunned him. The enemy had placed heavy plasma cannons around Ridge. They were too dangerous for any Xalos unit to approach. But 3 humans crawled under wire, set charges, and destroyed the cannons in one precise move. "No fear," Van Eck said softly. "How do they move without fear?" Another alien replied. "Maybe they learn to live with it. Maybe fear is just another part of their training." As the humans pushed deeper into the enemy base, they found signs that told a bigger story. Strange symbols were carved into the walls. Maps showed other colonies marked in red. Crates full of supplies from different parts of the galaxy suggested someone powerful was supporting these raiders. Murray called it in. "Commander, this isn't just a raider camp. This is part of a bigger plan." "Understood," Dale replied. "Gather all intel. Bring one of their leaders back alive if you can." At the heart of the camp, the battle turned fierce. the enemy, had a small fortress made of metal and stone. Auto turrets guarded the walls. But the humans used smoke, angles, and surprise. They didn't attack straight. They circled, climbed, and broke through windows and weak points. Lewis and Clark led a team through a tunnel. They emerged behind enemy lines and took out the control tower. At the same time, Murray and her squad reached the central command room. They stunned the enemy leader and secured files and maps. An hour later, the human flag was raised over the broken camp. The enemy survivors were tied and held in place. Some cried. Others stared at the humans like they couldn't believe what just happened. Commander Dale arrived with Elder Van Eck and Commander Seller. "You did it," Van Eck said. Still shocked. "You broke their base." Dale nodded. "This was just the beginning. They were planning more attacks. We stopped one wave. We have to stop the rest." Seller looked at the enemy leader. "Who are you working for?" he demanded. The enemy leader laughed bitterly. "You have no idea what's coming." Dale narrowed his eyes. "Then it's a good thing we came early." Behind them, human soldiers and Zala's workers began clearing the area. The two groups worked side by side now. No more fear, just focus, and above them, the Deathworlder fleet kept watch, ready for the next step. In the quiet after the battle, the humans and Zalos worked together to rebuild what had been broken. Fires were put out, medical tents were raised, and food was shared. The once divided groups now talked like neighbors. Young Zalos children even followed human engineers around, watching them fix machines. But high above the planet, in the human flagship, the atmosphere was tense. Commander Dale stood in the center of the bridge. A message had arrived from the Galactic Council, flashing red on the screen. It was marked urgent. Captain Murray read it aloud. "Deathworld fleet is ordered to leave the Zalos system immediately. Unauthorized interference in non-human affairs. Return to your own sector or face consequences." The crew stayed silent for a moment. They didn't help, one officer muttered. "But now they want to stop us from helping." Dale folded his arms. "Typical. They don't want trouble. But they also don't want anyone else to look stronger." Murray frowned. "What now, sir? Should we respond?" Dale walked to the console. He pressed the button and recorded a simple message. "To the Galactic Council. We answered a call for help. We don't abandon those in need. If that makes us a problem, so be it." He sent the message without waiting for approval. On the surface, Elder Van Eck and Commander Seller listened to the news with concern. "The Council doesn't trust humans," Van Eck said. "They've always feared them." Seller nodded. "Because humans don't follow the same rules. They act on instinct, not politics. But maybe that's what the galaxy needs now." Van Eck replied. "Someone who will move fast. Someone who will actually do something." That same day, human soldiers found more evidence in the captured base, a storage room full of stolen devices, data drives, and strange metal crates, each marked with the symbol of a shadowy group not listed in council records. Marie called Dale over. "Sir, these are not ordinary raiders. They had tech from 10 different systems. In these maps they show other colonies marked for attack. Zalos was just the first." Dale studied the map. His jaw tightened. "They're testing the galaxy, hitting weak planets, making others afraid to resist. What if the Council knows?" Murray asked quietly. Dale glanced at her. "If they do, then they're either scared or involved." Back on Zalos, word spread that the humans had found secret files and maps. The people started gathering near the town centers, listening to broadcasts from the humans. Many of them had lost family, homes, and hope, but now they listened with wide eyes. "They're not just fighting for us," said one alien worker. "They're fighting for everyone." A young Zalos reporter walked up to a human soldier and asked, "Why are you really here?" The soldier smiled kindly. "Because someone cried for help, and we're not the type to ignore that." Meanwhile, in the council chamber far away, leaders from many species sat around a shining circle table. Some looked angry. Others looked nervous. "They went too far," said one elder. "The humans cannot be trusted." "But they saved Zalos," another replied. "Without them, that colony would have fallen." A third voice spoke firmly. Humans are too dangerous. They act without permission. They break rules. Yet even in that room, not all agreed. One younger council member leaned forward. Perhaps. We need to stop judging them by old fears. They didn't invade. They rescued. But the final decision was made. Send another message, the elder said. One last warning. If they do not leave, we will treat it as a violation. The message reached Dale's ship. Murray read it. They want us out within 2 standard days, or they'll send council enforcement ships. Dale didn't flinch. We're not leaving. Murray nodded. Then we prepare for more. On Zalos. Commander Seller stood before the human troops. The council may come, he said, and they may not understand. But we do, and we'll stand with you. Elder Van Eck added, you didn't just protect us. You showed us that strength doesn't always look polished. Sometimes it comes with scars. And steel. Dale looked at the Zalos leaders. If they bring ships, we won't shoot first. But we won't back down either. That night, the humans prepared defenses not against the enemy they had just defeated, but against their own galaxy. Lights shone across the damaged towns. Now full of shared work and teamwork, humans helped fix walls. Zalos helped load gear. And together, they waited. Above them, the stars were quiet, but everyone knew something was coming. Inside the human flagship above Zalos, the room was silent. Commander Dale and Captain Marie stood in front of a glowing screen. The files taken from the enemy base were now unlocked. Human tech teams had broken through the codes, and what they found was worse than anyone expected. Marie stared at the screen. This wasn't just a raid. No, Dale said. This was stage 1. The files showed maps of several peaceful colonies. Each one was marked with a red cross and a time. All of the targets were small, far from major systems, and poorly defended. One of them was just 10 days away from its attack time. But what shocked everyone was the name on the files. A group called Veil Order. No one had ever heard of it. No species on the council had reported it. And yet, the Veil Order had detailed plans, advanced weapons, and knowledge of council routes. They've been watching, Murray said. Studying weaknesses? Dale nodded. They picked Zalos as a test. They wanted to see if anyone would respond. And we did. Dale smiled faintly. Yes, but now we need to do more. Down on the planet, Elder Van Eck and Commander Seller were called to the human war room. They entered and saw the new maps on the walls. Both looked shocked. These are other colonies, Van Eck said. Some are even newer than ours. Seller added, they won't survive an attack. Then we won't let them be attacked. Dale said firmly. Selo hesitated. But the council warned you. If you go into other systems, they'll act against you. Let them, Marie said. We're not looking for war. We're stopping one. Van Eck stepped forward. Commander, if you go, Zalos will support you. Not with much, but with what we can. Dale placed a hand on his shoulder. That's more than we could ever ask. While the humans planned, the enemy was also moving. Far in deep space, the Veil Order's commanders met in shadow. One figure spoke in a sharp, cold voice. The humans were not supposed to interfere. We miscalculated, another said. Deathworlders move faster than the council. They don't wait for permission. Then we strike faster. They ordered their next wave. 3 colonies were chosen. Their ships were already on the move. Back on Zalos, the humans began to move out. They loaded ships, fueled engines, and said goodbye to those who stayed behind. A few Zalos scouts asked to join them. They had seen what the enemy could do and didn't want to hide again. As the fleet prepared to jump, a message came through. A small colony called Noveri, located on a moon far from trade routes, had gone silent. They had stopped sending reports 2 days ago. Marie frowned. They've already started. Dale pointed at the map. We jump now, full speed. If they're still alive, we help them. If not, we find who did it. When the fleet arrived near Noveri, the sight made their hearts sink. Smoke rose into space. The moon's surface was scarred. Small settlements were on fire. But a signal blinked weakly from a mountain base. They're still alive, a tech officer said. A few hundred, maybe less. Dale didn't wait. Drop teams, protect them. Find the enemy and make them regret this. The human soldiers landed with speed and power. This time, they didn't wait for the enemy to strike first. They moved fast, using high ground and cover. The enemy had left traps, but humans cleared them. The Veil Order wasn't ready for a full assault so soon. In the heart of the forest, a battle broke out. Fire lit the trees. Plasma shots cut the air. Human soldiers used terrain tricks, rolling down hills, sliding into caves, swinging around broken towers. Even the Zalos scouts fought bravely, following the humans with strong hearts. One Zalos scout, named Liren, threw a flare that lit up the enemy's hidden base. There, he shouted. A human team charged, tossing flash bombs and disabling the shield wall. They rushed inside and took down the enemy commander. Data drives were secured. After the battle, survivors from Novari were brought out, tired, hungry, and hurt but alive. "Thank you," one elder whispered to a human medic. "We thought we were forgotten." "You're not," the medic replied. "Not while we're around." Dale walked among the ruins. He picked up a broken toy from the ground and looked at the smoke above. "They wanted silence," he said, "but they've only made us louder." That night, the fleet sent a new message, not to the council, but to the galaxy. A simple voice spoke. "If you're in danger, we'll come. If you see the Veil Order, tell us. We are Deathworlders. We don't run. We respond. And somewhere, out there, in the dark corners of space, those words were heard. The message from the Deathworlder fleet echoed through the galaxy. Small colonies that had once felt alone now looked up at the stars. With hope, traders whispered the words to each other. Explorers repeated it to quiet listeners in distant stations. "If you're in danger, we'll come." Some species laughed at it, others called it bold. But those who had been saved knew it was real. Humans had arrived like fire, loud, fast, and unstoppable. And now, everyone was watching them. Inside the Veil Order's secret base, their leaders met again. This time, they looked worried. A tall figure in black armor stared at the screen showing a map of recent failures. "Zalos survived," he said. "Novari too. The humans are moving faster than we expected." A second figure spoke. Coldly, "We must change the plan. Attack something big. Make the humans hesitate. And if they don't," a third one asked. The leader turned. "Then we remind them why the galaxy fears the dark." Back on Novari, the humans were helping rebuild. The people, though shaken, were alive. Many aliens had started to call the human soldiers by a new name, the ones who walked through fire. It was a mix of fear and respect. Captain Marie stood near a cliff with Liren, the Zalos scout who had fought beside them. "We've been watching the stars for years," Liren said. "But we never thought someone would come for us like this." Marie smiled. "We were late, but we won't be next time." In the flagship above, Commander Dale was looking through the enemy data again. He noticed something strange. Multiple messages sent between Veil Order bases had stopped. Suddenly, all communications from one region had gone silent. "That's not normal," Dale said. "Maybe they're hiding," Marie offered. Dale shook his head. "No, they want to be seen. They attacked to scare. If they've gone quiet, it means they're planning something big." Then a new signal came through. A large trade station called Orvania Neutral Zone had been attacked. It wasn't a colony. It was a meeting place for many species. Diplomats, merchants, scholars. "They're sending a message," Marie said. "This isn't about weak targets anymore. They're going after symbols." "And they chose Orvani," Dale said, eyes darkening. "They want the galaxy to see them, to see fear." The human fleet didn't wait. Within hours, they moved toward Orvani. It was one of the busiest stations, and the attack had already caused panic. Council ships were nearby, but they only observed. They didn't act out when the human ships arrived. They didn't ask for permission. They flew straight in. Smoke filled the space around Orvani. Small fires burned in the docking bays. The station's lights blinked like dying stars. Human drop teams moved fast. They entered the station in waves. Fire teams split and secured key points. Medics helped the wounded. Engineers worked on stopping further damage. Dale and Marie entered the main control room. where diplomats had taken shelter. We're here to help. Dale said. One diplomat, a tall insect-like creature, looked confused. Why would humans help us? We never supported Earth. You didn't need to, Marie replied. You're not the enemy. But the Council. We're not the Council. On another part of the station, Lewis and Clark moved through broken halls. They found civilians hiding behind locked doors and guided them to safety. They passed strange symbols drawn in ash across the walls, Veil Order signs, warnings meant to scare. But humans weren't scared. They moved toward the deepest part of the station, where the enemy leader was hiding. This wasn't just a raid. It was a trap. The moment the humans entered, hidden mines exploded. The walls shook. Fire lit the hallway. Ambush, Lewis shouted. But the team didn't fall back. They adjusted, regrouped, and pushed forward. Human instincts kicked in. Back on Earth, they had trained for chaos. At the center of the station, the Veil Order leader stood tall. He watched the humans breaking through trap after trap. They don't fear us, he said softly. They run toward the fire. A human squad broke in. Shots were exchanged. Smoke filled the air. The leader tried to escape, but Clark tackled him down. The fight was short and human strength won. Later, in the command room, the leader sat, tied to a chair. Dale stood before him. Why attack Orvani? Dale asked. To show the galaxy what's coming, the leader replied. You think saving a few colonies matters? This war is just starting. Dale leaned in close. Then know this, we're not going anywhere. If this is war, we'll end it back on the station floor. Humans and aliens worked side by side. Fires were put out, systems were restored, and slowly, Orvani lit up again from space. The station no longer looked broken. It looked strong. Marie stood near the window and said, They wanted to scare the galaxy, but we showed them something stronger than fear, hope. Dale nodded beside her, and we're just getting started. The station Orvani stood tall once again. Lights glowed bright. Its people had returned to their posts. The damage was still there, but so was something new, hope. For the first time, different species worked together, led by humans who had arrived when no one else did. Commander Dale looked over a star map inside the flagship. Several dots blinked red, but one dot, deep in a far corner of space, pulsed darker than the rest. This is where they are, Dale said. The main Veil Order base. Captain Marie studied the screen. It's hidden near a dead star. No signals, no records, no traffic, which is why it's perfect, Dale replied. They didn't expect us to find it, but they had found it. Using data from the captured enemy commander and files from Orvani. Human tech teams had traced energy trails leading to a system long believed empty. It was no accident. It was a trap waiting to grow stronger. Dale called a meeting. But this time, it wasn't just humans. Elder Van Eck from Zalos, Commander Seller, and 3 leaders from other species joined through secure video links. These were species that once feared humans. Now they were ready to follow them into battle. We know where they are, Dale said calmly. This is our chance to finish it. You won't be alone. Seller said, Zalos will send scouts, a bird-like. Leader from the Kaleri system spoke next. Our fleets are small, but we will send to ships. We owe you for saving our traders near Orvani. Then let's move, Marie said, before they strike again. Within hours, the largest human-led fleet began to form. It wasn't huge, not by galactic standards, but it was fast, smart, and full of warriors ready to protect the weak. Fighters, engineers, medics, scouts all trained for hard missions. As they traveled, the humans trained with their new allies. Marines taught Zalos scouts how to use cover. Kaleri pilots learned from human gunners how to fly low and hit hard. It wasn't easy. Not everyone trusted each other, but time and teamwork built respect. Finally, the fleet reached the Dead Star system. The area was dark and quiet. No planets, no signals, just cold space. But the Veil Order's base was there, hidden behind a thick asteroid field, powered by stolen cores and protected by dozens of weapons. Dale studied it through the main screen. This won't be easy, he said. They'll defend it with everything. Marie smiled. So will we. The battle began with the distraction.kali fighters. Flew in first, making noise and drawing attention. The Veil Order responded, sending their fast ships to chase them. Behind them, human ships moved in silence, hiding behind asteroids, slipping through gaps. On the ground, human squads landed in small teams. They moved through narrow tunnels that led to the heart of the base. With them were Xelos scouts and a few brave Kaleri soldiers. Lewis and Clark were part of the first team. They planted charges, cleared traps, and protected their alien allies. We've come a long way, Clark said, covering a hallway. Yeah, Lewis replied, from answering an OS to leading a galaxy. The central command of the Veil Order was deep below the surface. It was cold, dark, and filled with strange machines. The human teams moved fast, disabling defenses and clearing the path. Meanwhile, in space, the fleet battle burned bright. Human warships held the line. Kaleri ships swooped in, dodging enemy fire. Xelos tech officers helped hack enemy codes from afar. Inside the enemy base, Maria's squad reached the control room. The final leader of the Veil Order stood waiting. You should have stayed on your planet, the leader hissed. Marie raised her weapon. And let you destroy others? Not a chance. The last fight was short but fierce. The enemy used strange weapons, but humans and their allies worked as one. They fought side by side, and in the end, the Veil Order fell. Dale's voice echoed through the fleet. Target neutralized. Base secured. Bring everyone home. Cheers erupted across ships. Not just from humans, but from every species that had stood with them. Back on Xelos, the people gathered near the Great Tower. Elder Van X spoke to the crowd. We sent a call into the stars, he said, and the ones who answered were not who we expected. They came from the deadliest world and gave us our future. Back on Earth, people watched the news. Across colonies, messages were sent, thank you notes, offers of help, and stories of bravery. The galaxy was changing, and it had started with a single OS. In the flagship, Marie looked at Dale. So, what now? Dale looked out the window, at the stars. We keep listening, he said. Because somewhere out there, someone else will call for help, and we'll be ready. The fleet moved forward, slow and steady, not seeking glory but carrying hope.